Who will win our first matchup of our trivia tournament, the Falcons Historian Player Shootout? And it's all about Falcons legendary running back, Devonta Freeman.
You are Locked On Falcons, your daily Atlanta Falcons podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome back, everyone, to another illustrious episode of the Locked On Falcons podcast, your daily Atlanta Falcons podcast, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, your team every day. And today's episode is brought to you by Gametime. Download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. So, guys, if you don't know me, I'm your very humble host, Aaron Freeman, been covering the Falcons for far too long. Formerly at FalcFans.com, RIP. You may also know me as Sirius Black or Mr. Drew or the Jolly Green Giant or Mr. AKA. All that stuff and more still going strong on this illustrious daily podcast. And of course, I think each and every one of you that goes strong with me as everydayers, that makes it your first listen or your first watch each and every day, and then become an everydayer so that you can go strong with all of us collectively together. All you got to do is subscribe or follow for free on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts. So today is a very special episode, our first episode of our ongoing summer series. That's probably going to take the better part of the next 2 months to finish, which is our Falcons Historian Player Shootout, our trivia tournament, where we pit two guests head-to-head to answer trivia questions about a different Falcons legend from the past 20 years. It is our first episode. It's all about Devonta Freeman. Post in the comments how many of the questions that you wind up getting right out of the 10 that we asked to our two guests. And that is Corey Woodroof of For the Win of USA Today, also a contributor of a Falcoholic. He'll be going up against a man that needs no introduction to the everydayers here on this podcast. That is, of course, Jarvis Davis of Locked On Sports Atlanta. Myself, my co-host for this upcoming summer series is Alan Stirk, another contributor over at the Falcoholic, a former co-host of the Locked On Falcons podcast when it first joined the network way back in 2016. On to bigger and brighter things since then. And so without further ado, let's jump into our first Falcons Historian Player Shootout, all about Devonta Freeman right now.
Yeah, glad to be here. This is going to be fun.
Absolutely.
I'm just trying not to embarrass myself, Aaron. So there we go.
Okay,
yeah.
We'll see what's what, Jarvis. We'll tally up the score at the end of the day. Yeah. Alan, anything you want to say before we jump into sort of our general overview, starting off this thing talking about sort of our general vibes and memories of Devonta Freeman?
Oh, he's one of our true favorites, regardless of a certain game that took place in February 2017. He is someone that I think should be beloved. And when we were putting together the list of players for this tournament, Freeman definitely had to be on the list. So I'm excited to do it. I think we're starting off with a bang because let's not forget 2015, 2016, or even I remember, and Aaron, obviously you're deep in the draft, and I was curious to get your thoughts on it. How excited were you when the draft pick initially happened? Because it seemed like Devonta Freeman came in with a lot of buzz.
Yeah, he did. And for me personally, I was not as high on my cousin as I thought I should have been initially, just because to me, he reminded me so much of Quiz Rogers. And I was like, yeah, well, Quiz was a good number 2. He's a third down running back, but does he have really what it takes to be, that sort of lead dog? So going into
the roster at the time too.
Yeah. And so going into that 2015 season when it was basically him and Tevin Coleman, I was just like, yeah, I don't know about this. I think there would be a good 1-2 punch in terms of what they can do, but I kind of see Devonta more as the number 2 and Tevin Coleman as the future number 1. And, Coleman wound up winning the starting job early in that season and then got hurt. And then Devonta stepped in and then sort of lit the world on fire. And so I was like, oh yeah, this is why he's a Freeman. This is why, that Freeman blood is so good, So I wasn't as high on Devonta coming into the NFL as you probably would assume, but very shortly thereafter, it was a quick turnaround in terms of what he could bring to Atlanta.
Yeah, I just think that overall, just the roles, right? If you look at Devonta Freeman, you look at Tevin Coleman, you would think, okay, Tevin Coleman going to be the power back, and Devonta Freeman going to be the guy kind of out of the backfield, third down type guy, like you mentioned, being at that number 2 back. But it was the exact opposite, right? Devonta Freeman was the dude who running between the tackles and being that physical runner, just looking and seeking out contact. So I always thought that dynamic was very interesting. yeah, you think thunder, lightning, but he was little thunder, and Tevin Coleman was the lightning, right, in the part of that group. So yeah, Devonta Freeman, and for him, just being from Miami, the whole Luke aspect of it, that I thought that just was just a great little combination, right? Like, oh, how can you be affiliated with Luke? Because Devonta seems so meek and humble, but when you talk to him, you kind of understand, like, oh yeah, this cat from Miami. Oh yeah, he used to hang around Luke. Yeah, he know what time it is when it comes to, just his get down and how he moves around, in the city. So, but yeah, I always thought that dynamic was very interesting when you talk about just the physical makeup of both of those guys, and you would think there would be one way as far as that thunder lightning combo that everybody always looked for back then. It just seemed like it was definitely the exact opposite of what you thought by you looking at them.
Yeah. Corey, any sort of big thoughts that you had on Devonta?
Yeah, I think that we overlook how key he was during that really, really good 16th season. I think his career is kind of a mix between like understanding just how perfectly he fit into the Shanahan scheme with his vision, especially when the guys would get downfield, they would kind of open everything up. He had the ability to use his elusiveness, use that kind of quick area speed to just completely go. And he was very, very good during those couple of years, 16, 15, 17, like that. Not quite when Shanahan left, you kind of saw his ceiling kind of lower just a little bit, and you kind of realized a little bit of what his floor was. But if he had not suffered with injuries like he did, I think he would have been really one of and I still think he's one of the better Falcons running backs of his era, but I think he would have been able to set himself apart a little bit more. But it's tough when you kind of talk about a player's history in terms of how generally good they were and how they kind of fit into the scheme, who did more of the work there. I think he deserves much more credit for just his overall talent, particularly with where he was drafted. Obviously came in the year that we had Steven Jackson and we had Jaquiz Rogers, so he kind of had to work his way onto the field when he was a rookie, but he really, really shined when the team needed him the most. And I get the Super Bowl moment is something people always go back to, but he was a very good player for us, and he did not ultimately live up to that contract that he got. But I don't blame him for that. I think it was just the injuries started to pile up, and when those happen, there's just nothing you can do. But I thought he was tremendous to watch. He was really just one of the most enjoyable. He's probably the most enjoyable Falcons running back we've had. You had Michael Turner, and then I feel like before Algier and Bijan, it was Devonta Freeman and Tevin Coleman. That was in a bubble. They were the ones that made the run game so much fun, and they were a big deal in 16. I think people forget that. That was probably the best running back room in the NFL. They had Sports Illustrated doing a feature on both of them. They were incredibly prolific. And when you have that historic offense and the way it was running, it wouldn't have worked without Freeman and Coleman in that run game. So a lot of fond memories. I know that he is polarizing because of the Super Bowl and because of the way the contract evolved, but I still think he was a huge, huge part to that moment that we all still hold on to.
Yeah, I think that's a great point that you brought up, that I think he's very underrated in terms of his fit in that outside zone scheme and sort of the vision that he had and his ability to, when the offensive line blocked it for 3, he was going to be able to make that cut in the hole or whatever to get 4 or 5 yards and consistently giving you positive gains after positive gains, even if he didn't necessarily have the sort of game breaking speed that Tevin Coleman had. And they were often compared during those years. And you know how fans get, they'll get in a camp of one guy, we should give this guy the ball more, we should give this guy the ball less. And it was just one of those things where I do think, at least for the Tevin Coleman truthers out there, and no shots at Tevin Coleman was a very good player for the Atlanta Falcons, but it was one of those things that they consistently underrated with, Devonta's ability to just get those extra yards just because of that vision and that cutting ability that he had, that even if he wasn't consistently breaking those 20-yard runs that we saw, Tevin Coleman do from time to time, he was consistently getting 7 yards, 8 yards, 10 yards, 12 yards, those intermediate runs that don't, look as sexy on the stat sheet, but are, consistently what allows your offense, especially as you said, Corey, a run game like the Falcons had, that, that offense was built around the run game, despite all the points and all the firepower they had in the passing game. But it was, at the end of the day, Kyle Shanahan wanted to run the football. And I think Devonta was a key ingredient to allow him to do that to success, throughout those years.
Yeah. Go ahead, Al.
Just want to mention because fantastic points all about Shanahan's outside zone blocking scheme and all that. But I do want to highlight 2017 because I don't think the Falcons make the playoffs without Freeman's late season surge. He pretty much put the offense on his back because, as we know, the 2017 Falcons offense couldn't get out of its own way for the majority of the season. And I think when Freeman was finally healthy, because I think he had an MCL issue, but that December run going to January, he was phenomenal, and he really took the workload. And I think that was a huge moment for him just because it was coming off the big contract, which to this day I still think he fully deserved. I'm not getting into a running back conversation, but running back contract conversation, I should say. But overall, I think he always played bigger than his size, which you want to see from a small running back, and just his vision and just the yards after contact. He is someone that often got yards after contact. He was not easy to bring down, and you just gotta love those diminutive running backs that just never went down first contact. And we talk about turning 3 yards into 8, but he would turn like 2-yard losses into 4 or 6-yard gains. It was just magical watching him play at his peak. So yeah, he's truly one of the favorites. And you really watch, like, especially all 22. Like, I got into all 22 around 2015, 2016. He's one of the first players immediately just like, wow, what a joy to watch. So none but fond memories for me.
Yeah, and he also had probably the most enjoyable moment in the last Falcons playoff win when Alex Mack basically picked him up and carried him into the end zone for that touchdown in LA. So it's also kind of depressing that was the last time the Falcons won a playoff game. It's when Devonta Freeman got picked up by Alex Mack and was carried into the Rams end zone.
So, guys, is there any final thoughts before we jump into this trivia contest? Any last Devonta Freeman takes you want to get off before we start peppering you guys and put you under the hot seat?
Oh, man.
That's what I mentioned. Corey talked about 2014 Steven Jackson. That was our guy, Aaron. That's one of our guys that we rode with the entire time.
Yeah.
Everyone thought he was washed. No, 2014 Steven Jackson, he was decent.
Yeah, decent. That's the Alpha Award. No one's going to sit here and say he was a Pro Bowler.
You had to take what you got that season.
Way to give that stamp of approval, Alan. Man, that man was so decent.
We were all so hopeful that 2013 was just it was just a bump. Like, it will be fine.
Me and Alan watching the Falcons in 2014 was not fun. So we had to find ways of enjoying, and watching Steven Jackson just power through for 3-yard runs and 4-yard runs that season, watching OC do his thing were some of the few positive takeaways that we had from that season. So
that one Devin Hester game where they blew up the Bucs.
It was like Julio Trufant, and then we were really searching.
OC taking it to the crib, that was a good one. That was definitely a good one. Yeah, for sure.
So, guys, that is our general overview of Devonta Freeman, and so now we're going to get to what you're here for, which is the trivia part. We'll put Jarvis Davis first on the hot seat. I'll be asking him 5 questions, and we'll see how many he gets right. And then Alan will be asking 5 questions to Corey Woodroof later in the episode, and we'll see who is the biggest Devonta Freeman expert on this podcast. So that's what we'll get into as we continue today's Locked On Falcons Historian Player Shootout. Guys, Gametime is going to make getting NBA Finals tickets faster and easier. And whether you're looking for NBA Finals tickets, you're looking for tickets for other sports, concerts, comedy, music, theater near you, Gametime is taking the guesswork out of buying those tickets. They got last-minute deals that are going to allow you to save up to 60% if you're buying last minute, or you're going to get that lowest price guaranteed. It's going to credit you 110% the difference if you can find cheaper tickets in the same section and row. And their flash deals means you're going to save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game. And of course, everybody loves the views from your seat so that you know exactly what you're getting before you buy, all in the app. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets for whatever event you're going. If you're going to the NBA Finals, you want to see Luka versus Jason Tatum, whatever you're looking for, Gametime has it. All you got to do is download the Gametime app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONNFL, and you'll get $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem code LOCKEDONNFL, LOCKEDONNFL, for $20 off. Download Gametime today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price guaranteed. So we're going to ask first how we're going to do this is I'm going to ask Jarvis 5 questions. See how many Jarvis gets, and then we'll switch gears and we'll see Alan ask Corey 5 questions. And If there is, a tie at the end of that, we'll get into sudden death, but we'll break that down later if we need to. So, Jarvis, my first question for you is Devonta Freeman's youth football coach and mentor was also a famous but controversial rapper, part of the group 2 Live Crew. Who is that person?
Uncle Luke. Let's go.
Yeah. Correct. That is the correct answer.
Go. I like how this starting off.
Yeah, start easy. They
Right.
get progressively harder. All right. Number 2, during which season was Devonta Freeman atop the leaderboard in rushing yards through 8 weeks?
2015?
That is correct. Okay, that's 2 correct.
Right. Let's go.
All right, Corey.
Strong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
you got your work cut out for you. It's not going to be an easy cakewalk. First, the 2 wins. All right, let's see how many more Jarvis can get. Number 3, Devonta Freeman received the first carry in each of the Falcons' 3 playoff appearances in 2016. In which of those games did he take that first carry for 37 yards?
Oh gosh. Wow. I don't know. Wow.
Would you like
Why
to
am I
guess?
drawing? Oh, why am I drawing freaking blank? Oh gosh. Wow. I don't know. I don't know, man. I don't know why I'm drawing a blank right now. I don't know.
Alan, you feel like you got something to say?
I mean, there's 3 games, man. Just pick one of the games. You got 3 options. Just shoot a guess.
Yeah.
What you got to lose?
Can I steal, or is that?
I mean, if you know the answer, you're not going to get any credit for it, Corey. But if you know
It's
the
a Super
answer,
Bowl.
We can't give you a point for that. But
yeah,
It was
Super
the
Bowl.
Super Bowl.
Patriots.
yeah.
Mother sucker. Okay. Damn. Wow.
All right.
This is not going well. All right. Okay.
Number 4.
Yeah.
Okay. Devonta Freeman's last career 100-yard rushing game came on the road against this rival on Monday Night Football in 2017, where the Falcons' final score of that game was a 32-yard toss play to Freeman for a touchdown. Who was the opponent?
Was it the Ravens?
Which team did you say?
Ravens? Was it Ravens?
Is that your final answer?
Yeah.
That is incorrect. It's Tampa Bay Buccaneers.
Okay. Wow. All right. I got to come back. This is not going well. Right,
Number 5.
Okay.
Devonta Freeman had 5 100-yard games from scrimmage, counting both rushing and receiving yards, in primetime during his Falcons career, which is tied for the most among the team's running backs alongside William Andrews. All right, primetime 100 yards games from scrimmage. Can you name all 3 opponents in which he accomplished this feat?
Whew. And I got to name all 3.
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, yeah. I would never want to be in your class if you were a teacher.
Professor Freeman.
New Orleans Saints, Green Bay Packers, Seattle Seahawks.
Ooh, really close. You got 2 out of the 3. The Saints and the Packers were the correct one. The Bucs were the third one.
Sucker.
Now, that's impressive,
I
John.
need to get some partial credit or something, man.
That Seattle was a good guess, though, because that was a great Monday night game.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, come on, man. Come on, don't do me like that,
Good.
man.
It was impressive. It's impressive that you could guess 2 out of the 3 ones and you couldn't get the Patriots, but
Yeah, I mean, I just had a brain. I don't even know, diarrhea. I don't know.
You got 2 correct, Jarvis. Great start. I don't think you embarrassed yourself. We'll see what Corey does.
I think I did.
As we sort of continue this thing, but we'll get into Corey's 5 questions as we continue today's Locked On Falcons historian player shootout, talking about Devonta Freeman. All right, Alan, I'll give you the floor to get into your 5 questions with Corey Woodroof.
I just want to help Jarvis feel better in 2020 when we first did this, the first matchup was between Gina Thomas and Jay Adams. Jay Adams won 1-0. So
Oh wow.
it was quite a defensive slugfest.
Yeah, that was that's some heavy hitters as far as Falcons history. So yeah. I do feel better. Thank you. I appreciate that.
I forgot what season we did, Aaron, but maybe it was 2015, so it was fairly recent. But yeah, it was not a good showing for either.
Yeah, it was a classic, 2003 LSU Alabama type of SEC slugfest, 10-7 type of defensive battle. But yeah, go ahead, Alan.
All right, Corey, let's get this started. So Devonta Freeman scored 3 touchdowns in 2 games during his memorable 2015 season. Name one of the opponents.
Texans. It's Texans and Cowboys.
That is correct, sir. Well done. Question 2. In the same season, he produced 3 consecutive 100-yard games. Name 2 to 3 opponents.
That would be Texans and Washington.
Incorrect. It was Washington, New Orleans, and Tennessee.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, he didn't go. Fair enough.
Yeah, he had a lot of games that season where he was productive, but the 100-yard games were
interesting. Later on,
you had the 3 touchdown games, and then you had the 100-yard games. So it was like a really strong start. So question 3: who was the safety that had his ankles broken twice by Freeman in the Falcons' thrilling Monday night victory over the Saints in the 2016 season?
Ooh. Was it Jarvis Bird?
That is correct. Well done. I'm so happy you got that right because that was such a hilarious game. Because I'll never forget that game because I think it was the first night of the presidential debate and pretty much nobody watched that game unless you were a Falcons or Saints fan or like a football junkie. And the Falcons, I thought they that 2016 season, that's kind of like when they introduced themselves. Like, okay, this offense is going to be a juggernaut. So, great job. 2 out of 3. One more, man. You got it. But let's see if you get this one. In 2017, Devonta Freeman had a 2-touchdown game against the Packers. Why was his first touchdown so significant that season?
It was the first touchdown in Mercedes-Benz Stadium when they opened it.
You, sir, got that correct. Well done. Well done. And just for the 5th question, see if you got it right. Try to run up the score here. Over the course of the 5 playoff games that Freeman played in, what was one thing that he did in each game?
Rush for a touchdown.
That is correct.
Well done, Corey. Well done.
4 out of 5.
That's right. Crown myself king.
Stay away.
Congratulations, Corey.
Jarvis, I'll be honest, if I was given your questions, I would not have won because there were actually, I knew the first 1 and 3 and maybe 2, but the last 2, I was just like, dang, if that were mine, I would be cooked right now. And I studied all these facts, and you guys didn't ask a single.
No, like they went straight up, like totally left field. I'm just like, well, playoff question.
Top rushing leader. I can tell you, like all these numbers.
Led the league in rushing touchdowns and 15.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like, come on,
you guys
man,
got some deep cuts, though.
They went deep on that.
This was not amateur hour.
Yeah,
no, not at all. This was some PhD level Falcon stuff. Like,
you know, we're gonna bring it.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. It's my first time, so you
did great job. The last time I did this, so this felt good.
Yeah.
What I want to do now is I got the hat here. So Corey, since you won, we're gonna figure out now which player you will be quizzed on for the 2nd round. So you will play the winner of Brad Rowland and Myles Garrett. So for your win, we're gonna shake up the hat now. Great hat, legendary hat. And we have 4 players here that haven't been picked yet. So in the semifinals, it'll either be, if you make it, you'll either get Julio or Vic. And if you make the final, you get Matt Ryan. But right now, we got 4 players left. Some really good players still available. Let's see if you get one of them. And you get John Abraham. All right.
Come on, man.
So now you got to go a little bit back. But once again, man, you get one of the true great ones here.
Mm-hmm.
I know Aaron's pissed. Aaron kind of wanted to.
No, I'm good. Okay, that was episode 1 of the Falcons Historian Player Shootout. You know, any tips and tricks, Corey and Jarvis, that you can provide Alan and myself as we go forward, that we can tweak this thing and get better?
Honestly, I was so impressed with the depth of the question. I thought it was going to be very like stat based, and there was a little bit of that in there. And like I remember, like the one thing that helped me when I studied was the first one I got about the 100-yard, the couple he had at the beginning of 15. But when I got started with that, I was like, oh, okay. And I got lucky on the Jarvis Bird thing because I thought I remembered a little bit. But you guys did good. The questions were great.
Yeah, man. You better be on point when you come on.
That's right.
That's all I got to say.
What I'll say,
unless
Jarvis,
you have an absolute brain fart and not remember that. Hey, he broke one off in the Super Bowl to open that bad boy up. So yeah. But definitely, man, good stuff, man. That was fun. That was good. Like y'all had me on my toes, man, for sure. I was
now. I'll let you know, Jarvis. When I was coming up with these questions in my mind, it wasn't we were going to ask you them all one in one go. It was back and forth. For some reason, that's what I thought it was. And so the answer to the fifth question, if you had been paying attention to all of the previous questions, you probably would have been able to guess it based off of those teams came up at some point in a previous episode.
That's what
in
the Tampa one. Yep. That's Tampa one. Yep.
It was
that Tampa game was epic. Oh, that was because I remember it was like one of those ugly Monday night games, but he pretty much put the team on his back. That was when Matt Ryan said, get up and set.
Yes. At Julio, actually. Did you guys see that?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was at Julio, not Sanu. All these years. Yeah. Didn't know.
Yeah. Yeah, man.
That was one of the coolest things about that 2017 season. They had so many primetime games. It seemed like every other week they were on primetime. Mm-hmm. So mixed results.
Sark's first year in calling plays. That was
good time.
That was a struggle.
We won't be doing a historian shootout for Sark.
We won't? Darn it. Oh, you should come on, man.
All right. I've actually got a question for Aaron and Alan.
Okay.
All right. So my very first podcast appearance on the Falcons podcast back in 2016, which game did I come on to talk about?
Oh, man, this is so hard.
2016.
We did so much.
Very first time.
Chargers?
Close. You're roughly within a couple of weeks of it. A little further down.
Was it the Bucs Thursday night game?
Yep, that was it.
Okay. I'm glad we got you off for a good one.
Yeah.
Oh, man. We're doing a Keanu Neal episode soon, and I'm so looking forward to bring up that.
That's going to be very interesting. Kiki. It's going to be.
It's going to be basically just a list of all the players that he knocked out of games. That's basically what the question's going to be.
Oh, yes.
Willie Snead.
Throw his whole body into folks, man. I just love Sledgehammer, man. Ugh. Miss those safety days. Like, they don't make them like that anymore.
Yeah.
So, any last little parting tidbits, Alan, before we duck out of here?
No, just Jarvis, Corey, plug what you got going on. Definitely want to give you the platform here.
Yeah, go ahead.
Well, Locked On Sports Atlanta, man. Just check us out. If you haven't checked us out, man, we try to bring Aaron on because we know he's a superstar in the podcast world. Yeah. And, so hopefully we could just move some subscribers and some views off of him. And that's what I use him for, no other reason.
Yeah. If you're curious, you can find me at my day job at USA Today's For the Win. That's where most all my writing is. And I chime in at Falcon when I can. Obviously, if you know anything about the Falcons, you obviously should be reading them. So, yeah, just always love coming on. And I'm really glad I won this time because last time I remember I lost to Will McFadden. I don't even remember what it was, but I was really ticked about it. So now I got to win. So I come with a vengeance, and I will not stop until
Thanks for rubbing it in, Corey. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. You're welcome. The nice stuff's all if I can. I'm really just
Jake Jarvis in 4 years.
Hard-boiled competitor.
You'll have vengeance on your side at that point.
Exactly. That's the thing. Remember, I got my vengeance. You'll get yours.
Yeah. Just carry that chip on your shoulder for the next 4 years.
Exactly.
Yes. Olympics. We're doing it around the Olympics every year. All right.
Hopefully not a pandemic again. I don't want to do that.
Hopefully not.
Hopefully me and Caitlin Clark get a win. You know what I'm saying?
So, guys, that is it for our first episode of the Falcons Historian Player Shootout. Talking Devonta Freeman. We got more running backs to talk about. I believe our next one is going to be involving Allen going head-to-head against Matt Chernoff of 680 The Fan, talking about Warwick Dunn. Right? Yes, Allen and I are going to have to put, our money where our mouth is and answer some of these questions a little bit later. Obviously, Alan will not be coming up with his own questions. I'll be coming up with all the questions on that episode. But we'll just have to tune in next time when that unveils here on your first listen here on the Locked On Falcons podcast. Continue to subscribe on YouTube or wherever you listen to podcasts so that you don't miss that upcoming episode. This will be a summer series all, June, July, possibly even trickling into August all along. So you'll be able to catch up at some point later this summer if you haven't already. But I appreciate everyone that tuned in for this episode. We'll be back with much, much more talking Warwick Dunn with Alan and Matt Chernoff, as well as many other guests. Obviously, we'll be seeing Corey again facing off against whoever wins that matchup, talking about John Abraham. So make sure you hit that like, hit that subscribe here on Locked On Falcons. That's going to do it for us, guys. Appreciate it. Till then.